Hi everybody, Ron Placone here. So the government shutdown continues, and now we're hearing all kinds of explanation to why, and it usually just involves partisan political bickering. John Boehner's not bending. Look at John Boehner not bending. Hey, here's what some people in a dive bar in Cincinnati think about this. Way to go, mass media. You're providing us with the same information we could get if we suffered from alcoholism. Let's go to a dive bar in the middle of the afternoon. But anyway, here's a thought from me. Here it goes. You guys ready? Here's why I think we have a government shutdown. We have no consensus whatsoever on the role the government is supposed to play in our lives. None! Older democratic experiments, they have a little bit of a consensus. We have nothing. Zilch. Nada. Now when I say this, I'm not saying we're supposed to agree on everything all the time. That's not what I'm getting at all. That's how democracy works. There's different viewpoints and different ideas. But there's a few underlying themes that there's pretty much general consensus on. One of them, in pretty much every other democratic experiment in the world, is that people have health care. You know why that is? Because these democratic experiments are older and they thought, gee, for democracy to work, we need healthy people, not sick people that don't have access to a doctor, not a gap between the rich and the poor that's so big that if it were a parking space, you could fit 2 semis in an all-week-long music festival. No, you need healthy people, so there's a consensus on the government provides health care. We don't have that. We have nothing close to that. Hence, when a bill comes forward that starts to try to get everybody in this nation insured, it leads to the shutdown of the government. And it's not fun. Lots of women and children have no access to the food programs that they relied on. Places that rely on tourism from national parks stand to lose about $30 million a day. Not to mention they'll also be subjected to diatribes by Republican congressmen. And the FDA ain't doing a whole lot. Hey, this is Monsanto calling. Our playground just got a whole lot bigger. So unless you're really wealthy and live in a hut somewhere and farm all of your own food, which, by the way, I could really use a grant if you fall into that category. But unless you do, guess what? This shutdown affects you. Look, I'm not saying every other nation is perfect and we're the ones that don't have anything figured out. I'm just saying we're a little bit younger. And sometimes, USA, you stand to learn something from your elders. And one thing I've learned is that for the idea of a democracy to work, people need to have access to the media, people need to have food in their bellies, a roof over their heads, and they need to have access to a doctor whether or not they can afford to pay for it. And yes, that does involve a basic social safety net. Learn from your elders, USA. Don't be a spoiled teenager.